part of their decision is good. I think they're doing the right thing. They're trying to get rid of that oversupply, and production is the key here. They're producing and there's no demand, and one works with the other. So they're really trying to make, move forward, and I think they're taking the right steps.
And so how did oil markets react to this? And are they reading too much into this? Are they too optimistic?
Well, optimism is really, almost as, a cynicism right now. We really have to see demand. So I think the oil markets are balancing right now. We're seeing a fair price. Well, pre-COVID, we were right around this $55 level. So I think we're coming back to reality where supply is versus demand. Now, the key here and the thing that really can tip this over is demand. If we see that demand come back quickly, then we can see higher prices, very quickly also.
So a lot of people are wondering if the vaccine rollout correlates to pushing oil prices higher. Talk about why people are seeing that correlation.
Well, you have people more confident now. They know that there's a vaccine out there. The chance of getting COVID may be lessened, but that also brings more people back out to the workforce. That workforce is important because that creates the demand. So that optimism about the vaccine, the optimism about containing the virus, I think that's what's really starting to get people more positive about this, more optimistic.
So as these markets continue to look for clues about future production policies, what's your outlook for 2021?
Well, again, we're going right back to demand. In past years, we always talked about supply, whether it's OPEC or America or Latin America. It really comes down to supply. Now it's all about demand. We see job growth in America. We're seeing China recover, and economically, I should say. And once those things start to build up, that's when demand will come back. So I'm pretty optimistic about this. We need to turn that corner. We need to see this really start to gain some momentum. But I think it's a positive thing.
And we did see oil earnings from Tuesday being reported, Exxon, BP, Conoco all reporting there. Any surprises or concerns you saw being raised?
Again, we're in an anomaly, things that we never saw before. But we do see now that all of these oil companies, they're not relying on the supply or the production. They're relying really on demand. As long as that demand continues to grow, they'll see their monies come back. But the key is, again, we need to see more people back in the workforce, back on the roads, back doing things that they were doing pre-COVID.
So as we look at what they were doing pre-COVID, then what have we learned about their plans and expectations for 2021?
Well, I think the byline now is to talk about renewables, to talk about green energy, to talk about reducing carbon, and that's very easy to speak of now when demand is so low because it does balance out price-wise. But once that demand starts to rally, there's just not really much of an alternative. In a fragile economy around the world, we can't afford higher prices for renewables, nor can we afford higher prices for oil. So it's going to be a very big juggling act going forward.
So talk about the Biden administration and its outlook for oil-related policy. What are you looking at there?
It's a curious thing, Rachelle. Many people think that this Biden administration is going to be very anti-oil, anti-fossil fuels. But we heard the same rhetoric from the Obama administration. And truth be told, the Obama administration for oil prices were very good. We saw a lot more production increase. We saw imports decrease in America. We saw global demand increase. There was a lot good during the Obama administration. For what it was during the Trump administration, we saw a flat line. We saw markets that weren't going anywhere. So I think with a grain of salt, the Biden administration might actually be better for oil than it was with the Trump administration.
A lot of people might be surprised to hear that, especially since we know that Biden is making that push for clean energy a real centerpiece of his administration. Now, I want to point to something. We did see that the chief executive of French oil firm Total, he said that governments really need to explain the cost of carbon neutrality pledges and to make the affordability of an energy transition really clear to everybody. What are your thoughts on that?
When we talk about renewable energy or switching over to something more friendly, the real cost comes in infrastructure, building out an infrastructure that can handle renewable energy. In America, the top 5 states that are relied mostly on renewable are based around hydro. We can't do that, across the globe. Renewable energy, it takes a lot to build that infrastructure, not just the solar panels or the windmills, but actually having the space to do that and the cost around that, and then connecting all of that energy to everybody in the world. It comes at a very, very high cost. And I don't think people right now with demand low, it seems feasible. Demand high, very infeasible.
Well,